after Alexander's fireworks. It's such an honor. So yeah, for me, Connectathon is sort of the sharing of stories in the circle of friends. And it's such an honor and such a pleasure always to share stories, perspectives. And I also was thinking that it's so important to pay attention to things which are worth praying for. And by focusing on love, on connection, on relationships between people and places and planet, it seems that it empowers and brings this sacred energy to what is emerging between all of us. And let me share my screen. Please let me know if you see it. Yeah? Yeah. So can you see it? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes, and I wanted, so speaking about stories, I wanted to share a story with you about one character. And there will be a lot of stories throughout these 23 hours left. But my story is about a character whose tragedy was that nobody understood him. And maybe it was so because he was too big. Maybe because he was too old. Or maybe because nobody just wanted to listen to him. And because of that, people imagined him as someone he never was. And we all know such characters because we live with them. We live in them, because I'm speaking about our settlements and our cities. Do we really know them? Do we really address to them? Do we really know how to listen to the land where we live, to the places and ecosystems which we inhabit? So in this case, usually we consider the places where we live to be sort of a silent mass of blocks and concrete, perhaps a little bit greenery, some roads, parks, but not so much, because to build a shopping center is much more valuable and profitable than to create something green. But at the same time, if we look underneath, if we look at the core, if we learn to listen, we will understand that we are, we mentioned this mycelium and or rhizomatic interconnected system of life. And the paradox, I think, is mostly what if the biggest blind spot of our governance is not that we don't measure enough data or create enough infrastructure, or but the most important challenge is that we don't measure human and cultural conditions, natural conditions, something which is and should thriving between us. And that's what we precisely are trying to realize and to understand and to listen to in Living Cities Action Research Ecosystem, which I represent here today. And we all know that cities are mostly focused on measuring infrastructure, level of housing development, safety, mobility. But the problem is that outputs measure branches of sort of the tree, this metaphorical tree, instead of neglecting, but neglecting this inner dynamics and this rhizomic system, which is mostly valuable and most important for survival. So in the last decades, we learned to count more and more, and we are trying to measure surface success, efficient data, digital development. We are trying to be smarter, but what about deeper development? What about facing and addressing mistrust, fragmentation, weak civil participation, declining of social coherence? And here we realized that by starting collecting stories from people, starting discussing with people what they really feel and what would their land say if it is asked, we realized that this gives us an opportunity to reconnect with this deeper and more thriving and more alive level of our land to which we all belong. So in this case, we are trying to invite leaders to look at the places where we live, not as their mechanistic tools and instruments and some machines, but as living systems. To invite people not only be evaluators of good providing of better systems or of the level of their contentment, but as co-creators of what we are doing, of what these people and their administrations in these places are doing. We should not only measure environmental quality, again, quality for people or quality for non-human beings which are living in this place, but we are trying to start collecting stories about ecological reciprocity. And instead of thinking about present satisfaction, what should be done in order to provide and improve the intergenerational responsibility, and how inner development might be the central focus of research instead of just statistics. So in this case, what does it mean for us to understand the well-being of the place of a living city, not as just the byproduct of good governance or great planning, but as the foundation of the regenerative capacity and the energy of development of the territory? We believe that we can work with the living ecosystem only if we look at it as the nested system. And we see that each city has these layers of persons. And here we also can see that it's not only about human persons, but we also can see and address the personality of nature, of non-human beings, of rivers, of mountains. We also see the organizational level, something which is created and which emerges between people who are co-creating something together in communities, organizations, institutions. And of course, the societal level, the whole understanding of the territory, of people who are living and contributing to the development of this territory, and the extra territorial impact as well, because as I have started today, it's really important to understand that local identity and local belonging is the easiest way to reconsider and to reimagine our planetary identity and our planetary belonging. So also what we have learned and discussed a lot from the integral approach is the irreducible perspectives of individual and collective, of interior and exterior development of any ecosystem. And here, unfortunately, mostly cities are focused on the right side, which is about material development, behaviors and regulations, systemic development, institutions, architecture, infrastructure, all things which are tangible, but and well measured, easy to be measured and managed. But without listening to what is underneath, what impacts this development, we will never know and understand how it operates, why the city acts and responds to our changes and improvements in such or another way. So it's really important to attend and to invite for sharing from people and places about values, about intentions, about traditions and cultures. And here we come to the land of stories, because it should not be measured, it should not be just brought as another set of data. Stories can give us this sense of experience, of emotions, of connection. And here we can understand that stories are the bridge to the good governance and to the effective systems. Another point which I invite you to think of is that we mostly, when we understand and we hear about well-being, we mostly focus on the level of consumption, or the level of, again, satisfaction, on how people understand their environment and how they, to what extent they are pleased by the conditions which are created for them. But if we are talking about collective responsibility and nurturing of the places where we live, and through those places, reconnection to the land and to the planet, we mostly should focus on the happiness of creation and care, and focus on what people can do to co-create and to steward this place. And here we should address agency and contribution and co-stewardship, which unfortunately is not measured so well. But again, it can be captured through stories and through the relationships which people are building with each other, with places, with nature, and through these domains with the planet to which we all belong. So through the inner key system, we are trying to bridge the measurement and the stories. Our research is called The Soul of the City, the inquiry which helps us to understand and to bring together values and meaning making to the structures and development with planning and the management of the systems. So we can understand that this tool might be a good starting point, because by understanding what hurts, what might be the matter of concern, what are the areas of potential development, what are the potential risks, this is a good starting point really for conversation and for listening for the stories, for asking about the past and the present and the future inspirations and hopes which people have in connection to different levels. So we are starting this conversation from really clear requests on how people feel being in this territory on the personal level, how do they operate, and what are their emotional experiences and their stories and their memories, and again their hopes about the future relationships in communities and organizations, and how they perceive themselves as their parts of these cities or settlements. Do we really understand how we are connected to the places where we live? Do we really honor the land to which we belong? And through this set of positively formulated questions, statements, we invite people not only to share their own experiences, but to imagine together and to co-create the stories which just sort of are to come in the future. So in this case, starting with the inner key tool and then coming to the stories, we first of all try to provide this diagnostic part. We collect not just statistics data, but it's also the collection of experiences, stories, aspirations, and hopes of people. It also works as mirror, by the way, because when you are asking stories and when you are asking to reflect on what is going on and how people perceive their lives in cities, it gives us an opportunity to look at ourselves, to look at our reflection in this mirror, and to reimagine what might be done in another way. And also, of course, it's a catalyst because it gives people the understanding and the notion of what might be done and how they could be involved in a better way. So we generate this information, we unfold what could be done and what could be collected, what stories might enrich our knowing of the city where we live. This tool works sort of like an MRI scan because we really can understand in what concrete, precise aspects of local development we see some tensions. And again, through these tensions, we can start discussions and conversations and start collecting stories, and also speaking about giving voices to those parts of and groups of people who are marginalized. When we usually collect just statistics about how people feel themselves as citizens, as residents of some place, very often those voices who experience most tension, most dissonance with systems which are introduced by the local governments, they are very often are not heard or even neglected. So again, through starting these conversations and through creating not only analytical, but mostly motivational and developmental field of sharing and co-creating, this gives us the opportunity to tap into the intangible and most important aspects of the development of the bigger living ecosystem. As a result, I wanted to also share some of the results of the research which we conducted first as a large-scale, mostly statistical research in 8 cities in Russia, which we started conducting this survey almost 5 years ago, and more than 14,000 of respondents took part in this survey. So our idea was to involve people from different walks of life, from different social groups, including migrants and youth and elderly people, people from different professions and different sectors, in order to better understand how they feel being the residents of the place which we tried to explore, and to try to create this diagnostics. And it gives us this highly accurate statistical level of understanding through different social groups and as a whole, because from each city about several percents in bigger cities, 1% or half of the percent. In smaller cities, we invited several thousands people who responded to this survey, and they shared their concerns we understood at what level of, on the personal or on community level, or maybe on the whole governmental level, what are the problems. And again, as I mentioned, this became the good starting point for the conversation with those people, because when we presented the results of this survey, we got an absolutely incredible opportunity to listen to people's stories, to listen to their concerns, to understand what stands behind the results of the research which we presented to them. We also provided deep diagnostic interviews and research in the UK. We worked with the community of active residents, citizens of Nottingham, and we conducted a very detailed survey and interview with Findhorn, with our colleague Marilyn Hamilton, and it also gave us a very proper result of and understanding what are the areas of the potential risks for this territory, what might be done in a better way, what are the narratives which are predominant in these communities. And together with the respondents, we co-created the vision of what might be done and how people might be involved on another level into the development of their places to which they belong, places which they love, in an absolutely different capacity, not just as passive consumers of the services which are provided by the governments, but mostly as active co-creators, people who really make difference and people who really are participating in the decision-making process. Because one of the most important focuses of Care Institute work is to help people engage into the developmental processes and inspire intergenerational and cross-sectoral collaboration in the territory. So in a generalized way, it was very interesting that, for example, for Russian respondents, the results showed that there is a high density of the interpersonal solidarity and warmth, and at the same time, which is sort of predictable, but it was highlighted by this survey, that people have low autonomy and strong paternalism from their local governments. And also when people in power are coming and thinking that they know better what is important and what should be done for the territory without asking people whether it is important for them, whether they support it or not, it usually brings this sort of disappointment from the local people. And that's precisely the explanation why most of the best ideas and intentions provided by local administrations, and by the way, not only in Russia, but as far as I see now in many places in the world. So if people are not asked what should be done for them and how they could contribute and how they could participate in this decision-making process, most of good intentions just sort of drown in the disrespect and lack of support from local people. In Nottingham, our research showed that there is a very high commitment to service and to care for the city. But again, it was a very deep interview set, which was provided by people who are engaged in this community and who are very active in the contributing to the development of the social fabric of the city. But at the same time, the survey showed the governance strain and eroded institutional trust, because when this survey was conducted a couple of years ago, there was a crisis in the local city council, and there were lots of problems with the financing of the local development of this city. And speaking about the deep diagnostic research in Findhorn village in Scotland, the respondents showed strong narrative coherence and ecological stewardship, because Findhorn is an eco village, and most of the people who moved there, they are very focused on the spiritual and the spiritual development and ecological stewardship. But at the same time, the survey showed their financial insecurity and constraints, because in this period when we helped with this survey in Findhorn, they had some financial problems of and reimagining the future of their whole community. So again, this research gave a sparkle of their local development and of their collective sharing of the ideas and bringing together the collective intelligence on what might be done for the place where people live and for the place to which people belong and love this place. So again, we can measure and anticipate risks. We can understand where are the bottlenecks and where are the dissonances in the social system, but only through the stories, through the exchange of warm data, as Nora Bateson would say, their relational intelligence, their understanding of what emerges and what is important, what is connecting people in the territory, on this territory. So these stories, these further discussions unfold the whole spectrum of what might be done, including and engaging people into this process, not just by the local administrations, which, as I mentioned earlier, very often think that they know best. So in this case, what might be done? What should be focused on what should we focus in our research? As I started today, our Connectathon is a great opportunity to nurture the things which are important by focusing and by paying attention and giving energy to things which makes us better human, as would Alexander say, help us human in well. So in this case, not instead of, but maybe in addition and prior to measuring infrastructure, some levels of safety or political trust or level of the support of some political ideas, first, it would be better to start discussing what gives us trust in the community, how people, and if people are ready to rely on their local institutions, and how this respect and trust might be regained if it is not so strong now. What could be done, and how do residents feel, how they can shape their city, how they can be engaged not only in elections, but on the daily basis, what might be done, how people can contribute to the local development. We also need to focus on cultural coherence and reconciliation of their tensions. And we understand now, with the high level of migration processes, almost all cities in the world, big cities for sure, are multinational. And it's really important to pay attention to how people connect with each other, how they respect or how they build relationships with people from different cultures and from different walks of lives. And what values might be shared between people from different social groups, and what tensions could be healed or reconciled. Again, what trauma is lying behind this cultural coherence or discoherence, and what might be done in order to bring healing and bring reconciliation to this social fabric. Ecological reciprocity, not only to what extent the ecological sort of the quality of air or water is it fits and suits their standards, but mostly how people can regenerate, how people can act as stewards and caretakers for the places where they live. And again, identity and belonging, how people can reimagine their belonging to the place, mostly than to some political ideas which mostly separate us. So this idea of reimagining the identity of a person as a human being that first of all belongs to the place and then to other values, ideas, and other identities which mostly separate us. This also the matter of concern should be the matter of concern of leaders of new type of leadership and the leaders of the future in these places. And again, intergenerational responsibility. Do we think on how our discussions and how the stories which we tell today, how they will influence the future generations, and what heritage are we leaving for their future, for our children and for the future generations? So in this case, the idea is to invite, and I also would like to share this approach and to ask your ideas on how this might be introduced in your cities or maybe in your communities or even in their organizations, because I think that it is also the structure which the metrics which might be used in many different social systems. So this is the dependence of their level and the quality of conditions which are provided from poor to excellent, for example, in the city or in any human settlement, and the level of identity, to what extent people act as passive consumers or as active co-creators. And we can see that systems are fragile if we don't provide necessary conditions, but also if we don't give people agency and invite them to co-create. And in our research and in my personal experience, we had to work in the cities where the conditions were poor, not because the systems were, so the managers were bad, but mostly because there were no sufficient budget for providing excellent conditions of living in the cities. But their way out might be in inviting people to co-create together and to make residents the allies of the local, of the city councils and local administrations, and invite them to compensate the failing systems by collaboration, by building the strong relationships between different sectors, and to co-create together in order to improve their urban conditions as well. And it worked if we bring people, if we give people agency, and if we give people the understanding that they are heard and their voices are important. And on the contrary, we all know cities which are rich enough in order to provide comfortable conditions of living. But if people are passive, if people are only evaluating to what extent they are contented with the services which are provided to them by organizations or local administrations, it's also the evaluator trap, because if people are not engaged in the social processes, they will never think of regenerative development. They will never care for the systems which they just consume and use them egoistically. So this is the idea which we are trying to introduce as an approach in order to invite people to be more active and to overcome maybe those constraints which are historically at place in these territories. So here is the connection to the ideas of the leadership challenged program, which was conducted the year of this leadership challenged by the eco-civilization movement with Violeta last year. So we discussed what does it mean to be a better leader, what new types of leadership, and what are the the qualities of a new leader of a new leader should be. And here I think that this approach to the leadership in terms of stewardship mostly than just having answers to all questions which sometimes are not even asked. So being a steward of the system, being a person who nurtures the living relationships, who builds trust between people, who is inviting people to share their hurts, their trauma, their past experiences, and just trying to listen to each other and just be humble enough to understand that not always, mostly often, the predominant narrative is the only one which should be followed. So in this case, this new type of leadership is an invitation to collect stories, not only to measure, not only to provide the work of the system in the mechanistic way, but mostly to create a garden which might be nurtured and which might and should be stewarded by people collaboratively. So in this case, a small playbook on what might be done in order to make the system more alive is just in addition to some statistical measurements which are provided by most of the sort of smart systems and smart cities, we are invited to think beyond the happiness of consumption and invite people to co-create and to take agency for their small places. This might be not just given the responsibility for each resident for the whole city, but we could start from our small garden near the house, a small street, maybe a little family garden which is created, or community garden which is created not far from the block of flats. So again, it's really important to talk to people and to make these inquiries and these conversations on the regular basis. Their understanding of the well-being as the engagement of people should be cyclical. Also, I can share my own experience when people were asked and they were involved in this survey, and they believed that their voices are important. But then either their people in power just changed, and other people came to the local administrations, or just local administration forgot that they asked people to collaborate and to do something together. And this brings even maybe more disappointment when people understand that they tried, they involved, they contributed something, but after that they were forgotten. So it's really important to track the unseen and to make these conversations and build this trust and collect stories on the regular basis. It's really important to invite people to reimagine their understanding of connection to the place, not only to its history or maybe not only to its architecture, but also to the land, to their nature, which is the part of the places where we live. And as dialogue as a sparkle, so we should keep this fire. We should keep these circles of friendly sharing of our ideas and knowledge all together, and give it, make it not just the one-way direction as a public relations, but mostly as the constant iterative dialogue between local leaders and residents who live this place and who love with this place and want to live not only flourishing and thriving, but also meaningful life in this territory. And so that's the last slide, and I would highly appreciate your feedback and your ideas on how this ideas might be introduced to the local administrations? How could we share this regenerative knowledge and invitation for local leaders to reimagine their role for the places which they are in charge of taking care of? So we definitely need to measure not only what we already have, but what we would like our places of living can become. So in this case, starting from sensing this inner intangible, but very important underlying layer of the life of the city living ecosystem, we finally will be ready to start co-creating future together, reconciling our traumas, healing our traumas, reconciling our tensions, listening to each other with curiosity and with respect to this diversity, not imposing some solutions which we as local leaders can feel that they are the most important ones, but to mostly create the space of emerging of a collective intelligence of all people who honor and love the place where they live and to which they belong. So here I will maybe start sharing. And Ati, first of all, thank you for being online with me. If you have questions and ideas or maybe some points to add or maybe to argue, please please let's discuss it, because that's really important for me. That's the part of my life of maybe for the last 10 years already. So we have done a huge amount of work in Russia, and now we are trying to bring these ideas to our bi-regional action research clusters, and we work together with Alejandra in Mexico and with our colleagues from New Zealand and Ireland, who will join us tomorrow at hours 19 and 20 in Connectathon. So it's really important for us to formulate it clearly for people. And I also understand that local administrations and local leaders are sort of normal. They sometimes see some competition in such approach. And this is also a challenge, how to make people understand that it's not a threat for their power, but it's a great support for them in their work. Yeah, Artie, please.
Yeah, so Marina, thank you so much. I mean, this is, I come from the construction background in some sense, and I know it's such a cut and dry, affair. And connecting it to the idea of the whole industry and the whole thought behind settlements is more and more humanized, is more and more aligned with life in general. I think that is a tough job. And that's being done beautifully at LCE. So pardon me, I'm on the fringes of it, but yeah, I always appreciate what you do. So I do have two questions, and I know that there are a couple of questions in the chat as well. So one is that when you are interacting, and I mean to ask this question because I'm in India, and the local administration is a challenge to reach out to. So what has been your experience in terms of reaching out to leaders for change making and inviting them to think together with you, and also facilitate what you intend to do in a certain region? That's one part of my question. Second is that how are you experiencing the change in what these terms have to mean? So I was checking out all these messages. So when we look at inhabitants, when we look at residents, now these are terms that are being broad ranged as we speak, because migration is becoming a huge reality of our times, and people are being resettled, and they have to be resettled. That's not the happiest place to be in, but they are becoming part of existing mega cities, so to say, and villages and whatnot, anything that you might call settlement. So how are you experiencing the change or the transformation of that language, that terminology, because I think that literally pushes the narrative. Right. So these are two things. Maybe you can come back to it and listen to everybody else's questions, maybe tie it together. However, we're
Super.
cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah, speaking about synergy, I started mentioning that's really my experience, that very often the most challenge, the biggest challenge is to explain to the local leader, to a mayor, for example, that they need this support from the local residents, from other sectors, from other organizations. It's not a threat, not a challenge for challenging their point of view. It's mostly the opportunity to have a feedback before the vital decision is making. So in this case, we talked a lot about this leadership challenge and the reimagining of the notion, the very notion of the leader, of the leadership in our eco-civilization conversations. And it really demands sort of the level of certain level of maturity from a leader, of course, because if you have this dictatorship way of leadership, of course, those people they are convinced that they know everything, and if they are in power, that's because they deserve and they know what should be done in a better way. But at the same time, very often, again, from my perspective, we mostly worked with the small and middle-sized cities. For many reasons, most of them because they are underrepresented and underfinanced, and they need more support than big mega cities. And their positive change is seen much quicker than in big cities, when you will never notice if the positive change happened or not. And in these small cities where local administrations experience scarcity and all these problems with financing, asking for help from people and from local organizations might sometimes be the only way to support and to sustain.
Absolutely. I mean, the organization of cities is mainly to promote trade, right? Everybody, I mean, you settle near a river because you have livelihood opportunities. And you have big cities, you have migration happening in big cities because there's livelihood opportunities. So how do you speak to that element in the with the leadership? Because that's the only yardstick with which they make a decision. It's a yay or a nay because of that. Right. So sorry.
Yeah. So in this case, their main focus is to understand, and again to help a leader understand that the alternative perspective is not a threat but might be a support. And again, what is also really important, we not just invite all people from the city to share their very, very valuable opinion, but if you are sharing, you are suggesting some solution. So if you share some ideas with the local administrations, please be so kind as to provide some ideas on how you could contribute meaningfully, not only meaningfully, but with actions. This is also a very important part. So if people are ready to help you as a leader, that's a little bit another perspective than instead of just collecting these huge halls of people who are sharing their very valuable opinions but don't want to do anything. That's again about this balance between being a passive consumer and sort of a thoughtful advisor, or being a very active participant. And it is connected with your second question about migration, because I think that only if a person who comes to the place reconnects with this land and begins to reshapes their identity. So I'm a migrant too. So I'm original Russian. I'm living in the UK now and working here. And I understand that the most important shift for me, it happened not when I moved physically. This shift occurred when I moved mentally, when I reconnected. And again, it was a very interesting experience, because I didn't want to cut from my cultural heritage. But at the same time, I understand that it's sort of the wine of grapes, that you have this long branches. So yes, I have my roots on the Russian land, but at the same time, I reconnected with the local environment and local land. And I like this, and I love, and I feel belonging to this land. And this gives me the strength of being simultaneously on different lands, but at the same time, ultimately, I'm on the same planet. So what's, and we have a very interesting conversation with this migration, about this migration with Alexander, and that you could be a tree, but you also could be a grass which covers the whole continent or maybe different continents. And this is the idea of this, again, rhizomic system or mycelium system, which connects huge amounts of land together. So again, for migrants, it's really important to include people not only on the cultural level, but also on this territorial level. A person should understand that now you belong to this place if you are going to live here. And you need to be part of this ecosystem of this land.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who was, I think, Alejandra, and maybe then Elena or... Yeah. You're muted, Alejandra.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. I loved your proposal. Thank you very much for this incredible job. And, you know, answering your question, I remembered a research that I developed some years ago about planetary health in Canada. And I went to review the National Adaptation Strategy and the BC Adaptation Strategy. And I found, you know, a way to talk about the need of this change through political and economical lenses. To you know, to translate into their political language that it is convenient and it makes sense. So they added several graphics and showed the risks that are multiple and the benefits for changing to a more regenerative and resilient strategy. The National Adaptation Strategy is not operating anymore because it was valid for 2021 and then 2025. And the new one, I think, is just adjusting to the needs of Canada to address more immediate things like the security issue. That's my interpretation, and I need to go deeper for my future jobs. But yeah, that's one idea. And then the thing that I thought, in my opinion, it's you know under like the acting as a root of the difficulty to translate this need into the political terms is that the timing of the campaigns and elections in each country, they need fast results for the next election. And we are talking about complex problems. And when you are talking about complexity, you will not see the results soon. So here the question is, how can we build this interface to connect the needs of politics, that it's the immediate thing that we need to go through, and the nature of the problems that we have just in front of us, and that will just get more complex or chaotic, as Alexander said at the beginning, because we are still treating them as simple or complicated problems, right? With linear solutions. So I think that's the challenge for us. And I would like to stop there. But yeah, thank you for your presentation. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that's I would say that for me personally, is this sort of political marketing, is one of the most important challenges, because when you have these short-term solutions and quick results as a prevailing focus of people who are making decisions, it's obvious that when you have quick gains, you don't think about the future implications of what is going on and what would it bring. So in this case, I really am not sure that our contemporary governmental system is connected to this idea of the planetary belonging and the planetary identity. Because again, if we address, for example, the indigenous communities and indigenous wisdom, they had this notion of their decision-making process seven generations ahead. What modern politic would think 7 generations ahead? Unfortunately, I'm not sure that there are any of them. Again, it doesn't mean that I am for the monarchy of its inherited power, but I really think that we need to discern what decisions and who makes the decisions which have these long-term implications, and what might be the some systems or rules which should check the decisions which are to be made through this cross-generational lens, because otherwise we just again, we just gain some quick benefits without thinking on how it impacts future. So yeah, that's another problem. But and again, in our day-to-day life, how we manage to work with this is just working with local communities, with people and local businesses, with people who understand that they are going to live on this territory, they are going to develop their businesses on this territory, their children are going to develop their to continue their work and their life here. And I think that again that's the importance of this dialogue of people from different sectors and different social groups, in order to listen to different perspectives, not only to people who have these short-term solutions, which want immediate results.
Thank you. And Marina, I'm sorry, I'm just jumping. I'm just looking at the time. We have 3 minutes left until the top of the hour. We have Elena with her hand up, but I want to remind us of hour 8 that's open, and we can continue every conversation there.
Yeah, maybe if I could quickly answer Elena, and we could.
Well, let's hear the question. Let's just hear the question.
Yeah, please.
It's not a question. I didn't believe I would speak here because I'm really new in this community, but you really struck a chord, Marina, because we also had to move and we are immigrants. And it was just really interesting observing myself. We moved into the community that's not really a city, but in the first year after we immigrated, I found myself joining the local citizens association. And it's a really interesting group of people who are actually achieving changes. And so what you were talking about, like being, I think the important elements are being informed, being heard, and seeing change. Because as a member of this association, I've seen how important it was for me as part of integrating into this community, even though it's a bunch of holiday homes. But I felt the great importance of being connected here. And yes, you were so right saying that that's part of the real achieving harmony as an immigrant when you reintegrate, when you find this connection. It's really important. And I'm very excited about your research. I've known all the years that you've been doing this, and I've been really excited. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm giving the mic back to the hosts. Thank you so much.